My name is Ruben Lowing, and I'm a student at STC. I'm going for a major in mathematics with a teaching credential, but I want to switch to organizational leadership in applied sciences. And this is for my U.S. history class. I had to pick a category to do a paper on, and I picked the Great Awakening, and it was fascinating. The Great Awakening had a major effect in the Revolutionary War and the Second Great Awakening during the Civil War. But it got its start earlier. The French, well, first happened was King Henry VIII didn't want to be married anymore and got tired of cutting his wife's heads off. And so he left the Catholic Church and started the Anglican Church, the Church of England. And that caused a major stir all over the place. There were people like, oh, we don't want to follow him, and we don't want to follow the Pope. So they started the Lutherans, and then the Puritans, and that was a big force. A lot of Christians that didn't want to be told what to do to the New World. And that's really important. And so the French went, you know what? Well, we don't want to follow his church, and we're done with the Catholics, and we're tired of this hierarchy of taking advantage of us. So they basically killed off their royalty, and they did away with church influence in their government. Well, the Anglican Church didn't want that happening in any of their colonies, so they had this George Whitefield was a very charismatic preacher. He had a background in the performing arts, and he just had a way of giving a speech. And so they sent him on a speaking tour, and part of that was going to the New World, to the colonies. Now, I'm familiar with preachers like this. I was going to church I was a Catholic, and going to church in Imperial Beach, California, and there was this priest, associate pastor, who, before he went to seminary, had a degree in psychology, and he helped expand the Marie Callender's restaurant chain in Oregon and Washington State, kind of an entrepreneur. And every time this guy gave a homily, it was like he's living in my back pocket. I'm like, how did he know to say that? And I was going to this other non-denominational church too, and I would go to both. I would go to 7 o'clock, and if he wasn't there speaking, I'd go to 9 o'clock, and if he wasn't there, I'd go to the other church and come back and go to the noon service, and then I'd go to 6 o'clock and just to hear this one guy. Okay, so I finally invited him to a Toastmasters meeting. And he never knew anything about Toastmasters. And I kind of told him how the flow of the meeting went, and on the way to the meeting. And he gets there, and he gives an impromptu speech on the Word. And the Word is real important. In Genesis, it talks about, God spoke the Word, and the universe was created, and the light separated from the darkness, and then the water, and, the whole thing from the Word. Okay. Now, what's really interesting in my history class is the teacher likes to talk a lot about the Native American religion, and they talk about, they don't say the word, but the spirit, and the spirit gives them messages, and I'm like, that's really right in line with this whole Holy Spirit thing. Well, I invite this preacher to Toastmasters, and he gets up and he just starts talking about the Word, and he says the Word is its own entity, its own living, breathing creation, and what my job is to deliver the Word without getting my own agenda in front of it. And people will take out of it what they need for their lives. Well, that's been going on for a long time, and it just so happens that this last Sunday, the pastor Elias Flores at Center Church talked about how the Holy Spirit affected everybody all the way from Noah all the way up to Joseph in the Old Testament. And it's just fascinating that he laid it out the way he did. And basically, the Jewish faith was a sect of the Egyptians that believed in one monolithic God. And there's actually chronological history that showed somebody, a pharaoh, with the same name and lived in the same time, in the same region as the leaders from Abraham and Moses, all the way in the Bible. So this guy, George Whitefield, was very good at delivering the word. And it just so happened that there was Benjamin Franklin. Now, Benjamin Franklin wasn't a faithful guy. Benjamin Franklin wasn't very religious. Okay, but he was curious. So he goes and hears this guy speak. And what he got out of it was encouragement to reach out and hear from God or on your own. You don't need a hierarchy of some church or some monarchy to tell you how to believe. All right, him being a publicist, he took that and basically said that ordained by God that we are free men. All right, all over the colonies, he sent this out, and that gets credit for the catalyst that started the American Revolution. Well, it ain't the first time that happened. Okay, you ever heard of Constantine? All right, he was the first pope. He was a general, and the emperor of Rome died. And there's another general, and they were going to fight it out. And he was a follower of Apollo. And the story is, he goes to pray about the battle and looks up at the sun, and there's a red cross in the sun. So he had all of his soldiers paint a red cross on their shields, and they won the battle. Now, the backstory is, all right, that Christians knew how to read, and they were all in the Roman government because they were productive, because they could read and write, and they could do things that needed to be done. And so here he is surrounded by all these Christians, and by that symbol, letting them put their cross on the shield, they were fighting for more than just his empire. They were fighting for their faith, okay? Because if they lost, they'd have been persecuted. And so that's what happened. That was the beginning of the Catholic Church. And what did he do? He just implemented the same leadership in the same hierarchy in the Roman Empire, which they adopted from the Huns. The Huns and the Romans used to have an exchange program. Attila the Hun was raised in Rome before he led the Huns. And they got that from the Mongols in China. Okay, the same hierarchy of the Chinese through the Roman Empire and the Catholic Church and the Italian Mafia. It's all the same leadership. Okay, well, that is what got rebelled against by the Protestants. Okay, that came to America. But that's what can happen. Now, that happened again for the Civil War. Okay, these Christians, they say we're free men, and but why is one man less of a man because of the color of his skin? So that was the catalyst that got the Civil War started, to free the slaves, because they're men just like anybody else. And then they're after the Civil War, the Democrats said, no church and state. Okay, they couldn't have that happening again to them. So they that's where you get that from way back then. So I'm telling you how it happened, the backstory of what brought it forth, and also how it's continued in today. That word, that spoken word, has power. And Christ said that all you need is the faith of a mustard seed. Okay, Christ did it all. He gave up his ego and his spirit for the Spirit of God to work through him, and it came out, and that's what we're being taught today. All right, well, we're not all going to do that. We're not all going to be, but we're going to grab what we need out of it, and which could be enough to change everything. All right, and that is my talk on the Great Awakening. Thank you.